Okay, so we've talked about rationalizing the denominator when you have something like 1 over root 2. You multiply by root 2 over root 2, which gives you root 2 over 4, and you got rid of the square root in the denominator. Now, if you have a binomial in the denominator, like this one that I have right here, 4 over 3 minus root 2, I can't just multiply by root 2 over root 2, because when I do that, I get 4 root 2 on the top, and then I have to distribute it, so I get 3 root 2 minus 2 on the bottom, which hasn't helped me because I've just moved the square root over from this term to that term. So it's gone from here to over here. These do not cancel out because you have a binomial, you're subtracting in there, you have to have it has to be a factor in order for them to cancel out. So this cannot cancel, that's wrong. Okay, so this whole thing is wrong. So we're not going to do it that way. But what we are going to do is we're going to make it into one that will multiply to be the difference of two squares. So you have 4 over 3 minus root 2. Okay, we're going to multiply by what's called the conjugate. So 3 minus root 2 and 3 plus root 2 are conjugates. Okay, so this is the conjugate, it has the opposite sign. So if I multiply by that, 3 plus root 2 over 3 plus root 2, it's going to end up multiplying to the difference of two squares, right? So you have 4 times 3 plus root 2, and I'll just leave it as a factor instead of multiplying it out, over, when you multiply this together, these two, that gives you 9. This one minus 3 root 2, this one plus 3 root 2, so those cancel. And then you multiply the last, you have minus the square root of 4, which is just 2. Okay, so square the first term, put a minus, square the last term. So you have 4 times 3 plus root 2 over 9 minus 2, which is 7. And that's your answer. You've rationalized the denominator. Okay, another example, if you have more than one square root, it works exactly the same. So if I have 3 over root 2 minus root 3, if that's my problem, I want to multiply by the conjugate. So I'm still only going to switch one of the signs, either the first one or the second one. It's easier for me to switch the second one. So I have root 2 plus root 3 over root 2 plus root 3. Okay, so again, I have opposite signs. This is going to multiply to be the difference of two squares. Okay, so you have 3 times root 2 plus root 3 over root 2 times root 2 is 2. Negative root 3 times positive root 3 gives me negative 3. So I have 3 times root 2 plus root 3 over negative 1, or I can just write that negative 3 times root 2 plus root 3. Okay, so I've gotten rid of the fraction in that denominator. Okay, so we have those two, and then sometimes it's going to ask you to rationalize the numerator. Okay, so another example, if I want to get rid of the roots on the numerator, I can rationalize the numerator. So you probably guessed, you do the exact same thing. So if I have 3 minus root 7 over 4, multiply by the conjugate, so multiply times 3 plus root 7 over 4. Sorry, times over 3 plus root 7. Okay, so multiplied by the opposite sign of the second one, or one of the opposite signs. So multiply the top, you get 9. Multiply these two, you get minus 7 over 4 times 3 plus root 7. So that's 2 over 4 times 3 plus root 7. Okay. So a lot of times you'll do those with variables, and it comes in handy when you're doing limits, which is something we'll get to at the end of pre-cal or in calculus, but just so that you know those tools. Okay, that's all.